Hello, everyone. Good evening or afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Eddie Paz. Of course, we're in the same class together. And today I wanted to talk about Desmos. Desmos is a teaching tool that I use very often. You might have heard the word. Maybe you're familiar with it. Maybe not. But that's okay. Hopefully, I can at least expand on what you know or introduce you to something new that I think is awesome. It's a great teaching tool. So let's begin. Let's see. I'll start by sharing my screen here. And again, what we're talking about today is the software Desmos. Now, Desmos first started as just a calculator, and we can head over to the Desmos graphing calculator utility. Really simple, really awesome tool for graphing stuff. I love the visuals on it. I think it's great. I can input, some basic equations, and Desmos being math oriented, it's really good with math type and with getting things right, the first time you type it in. It's pretty intuitive in that sense. So here, within a matter of a few seconds, I've been able to graph a straight line. I've been able to graph a quadratic function. And what's even cooler is, let me go over to this other tab here. You could even set some of those items as variables. So instead of putting an exact number, I can keep it as M. That way I can change the position of this line. Oh, right now I'm sliding B. So I can change the y-intercept, or I can change the slope. And this is a really good visual tool for students to see how variables or which variables change the function as we see it. You can even, one of the funnest things here is you can even press play where the variable will automatically shift back and forth between a certain amount on its own. You could even do it for both variables where they swing back and forth. And we'll see both of our variables, the y-intercept and the slope of this line, swapping back and forth. If I wanted to, I could slow down one of them. I can change the speed, the animation mode of the slope. And over here too, I can change the speed of the y-intercept as well. So we get a nice slow movement of the line. And again, we can do this with any function, and people can get really, really creative with this. That's one of the things about Desmos in the spirit of its function. It's got so much functionality, but it's pretty much for those who are willing to learn how to know how it works. All right, like any artist with their artistry tools, Desmos is a tool, and it can get pretty intricate. In fact, Desmos just held their global art contest for 2022, and we can take a look at some of the entries. Believe it or not, on the same screen that I'm just graphing a basic line, we see people submit some pretty incredible art pieces here. This is a submission from Taiwan. And if we let all the variables play out, I can even open up all the equations, all the variables, everything in there. And we can see that somebody actually animated this here. It's again, I'm impressed. But we're not here to talk about Desmos animation, although this is incredible, to say the least. What I really wanted to talk about is more about the teaching utility. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second. So as far as teaching goes, Desmos is more geared towards math, but it's really good at letting a teacher monitor and see what their students are doing. See, what we can do with Desmos is you can open a class, kind of like you would with the Google class or some other software, and the students would log in during a lesson and they can input their answers in a way that you can see them, you can evaluate them, and it lets you monitor what the students are doing. Let me show you a little bit. So we'll do a quick tutorial and then we'll get into a little demonstration, and then hopefully you have a better grasp of what Desmos is and how you can use it. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen here. 1 second. And again, I could look at these all day, but let's get into the dashboard, what the Desmos dashboard looks like. So the Desmos teaching dashboard, it's pretty simple. It looks like this. Now you can go and create your own activity if you want, right? That's always, if I go to class custom activities, I can create a new activity whenever I like. But it's really, really easy to take what other people have made and kind of work with it, make it your own. I know that Teachers Pay Teachers is a popular website, but it's really easy to open up a tab and I can Google, let's say, for example, I'll say Desmos, solving systems by substitution. This is just an example. And I'll find other people's ready-made activities, things that I can work off, build, steal from, right? We all know the best teachers are the greatest thieves. So you could look things up that way. But lately, since I've been using Desmos so often, I've really gotten into making my own. And let's take a look at some of the activities that I've created and some features you can take. So here's the Desmos dashboard for one particular activity. I'm going to click on the edit draft, and actually I already did that. It's going to pop open this lesson that I had from earlier this school year. Right. So I usually start off with simple warm up, and if I click on the preview here, I can see what the students would see. Right here, they have just a simple one of those algebra picture warm ups. I always have things in English and Spanish, right? I keep everything bilingual. And what I can do here is, let me click over just a bit. Here's a bit of a beginning problem, not exactly a warm-up, but something that I've started where students can in order to just start the lesson before I have them write anything formal. Students can use their screens to write right here. There's also submission buttons where they can submit, and there's options to make those submissions public so we can see who submitted what, or you can keep it anonymous, but students can still see who answered what in either yes or no. So these are simple tools where students can see what other people are doing. But again, you can keep it as anonymous as you'd like. One of the coolest features about Desmos is those graphs we were looking at earlier, the super intricate graphs. You can incorporate all of that into your lesson. So here I have a graph that I put together. Right? It shows 2 lines, and it's asking students how many solutions are there. Now, another feature about Desmos is the coding. The coding, the HTML is incredible. I'm only scratching the surface of what it can do, but a really simple utility with this is, let's say a student approaches this problem. They might see that there's 2 lines, a red and a blue one. They can see the solution, right? This is something we might have gone over already in class. So they're familiar with the terminology. If they can see the solution that is there, then they might mark 1 solution. And if they press check it, you can see my little Bitmoji will pop up and say, try again. The reason it's telling them to try again is because they haven't written down the solution. Let me go ahead and type in that solution, which obviously you and I can see it's at 0, 1. And then my little emoji pops up there and, kind of gives them a, hey, you did it, a good job. So we can incorporate using, and I'll give you a hint of it, using some variables and coding within the images here. Let's see, oh, there we go. Here I have the image of me saying nope when they get it wrong, and here's the other image. And it's built in where there's a lot of ifs and then values. It's a little complicated to say over a quick tutorial video, but essentially we can, give students immediate approval, and we can customize that approval. You can put whatever image you like. Moving on into this same activity, it's a lot of the same. It's a lot of asking students to solve systems of equations, then asking them how many. If I put in the wrong answer and I press check it, let's see, like if I type in something, press check it, it'll tell them a yes or a no. And if it was correct, I put it so and give them a happy face for this one. I'm going to skip over now to a different activity to give us just a little bit more behind the scenes. This is when we were doing linear inequalities in 2 variables. This is back in February. And I was really happy with this because I kind of simplified what it was. I went a little wild with that last activity, but by the time I was here, I was really simplifying what it was. Let me show you a preview of what the students would see. Here was their job to graph an inequality. Again, the graphing utility on Desmos is excellent. I'm going to use the straight line tool, and it makes it really easy for me to graph a line using a straight line. And the students like it too. Now, this is, again, what the students might see. And you might be asking yourself, well, what about the teacher? Can we see this? Can we see what the students are doing? And the answer is yes, absolutely, absolutely. This is linear equalities in 2 variables. I'm going to head back. I'm going to go to linear inequalities in 2 variables. And I'm going to go to the teacher dashboard now. The teacher dashboard is where you would be seeing what from what the teacher's doing and what the students are doing here. So while the students were going through this activity, I incorporated a little bit of code where I can see the check marks mean that the students got it correct, and X's, of course, is when it's wrong. This isn't innate in the programming. This is something that we do have to go in and customize. So as much as I like Desmos, it did take me a while to understand how to make these happen, right? I had to have the program recognize what is and what isn't the correct answer. But it's really neat from my point of view because I can see the whole class really, really quick. All these names are made up. Again, you can keep it anonymous, but with the click of a button, I can take away the anonymity. I can go over here to the teacher dashboard and I can see their drawings here and I can see what they've drawn, what they're doing. And if I wanted to show this to the whole class, it's really easy to show everyone with an overlay. I can even look at one graph with all of the drawings all at once. I could do that with either one. Really, really nifty stuff here. Same thing here. And over here, since we were doing shading with these problems, they were getting pretty creative with how they were shading it. Like students like to be silly. I'm glad they have a sense of humor. I don't want to break that. And some got really nice with their drawings. Going back to this same activity from the student's point of view, what I wanted to do here, I wanted to see, let's see, if we're looking at an example, yes, this one. I put in just a bit of code here just to let the students know when they input their answers if it's correct or not. So in this one, I'm asking them to solve the inequality for the variable y. And if we do some quick math, I think we're going to end up with y is less than 1/6 x minus 3, I think, if I'm correct. And in fact, let me mess it up on purpose. Let's say it's 1/6 x minus 3,000. Right, I'm purposefully putting the incorrect answer. If I click submit, it'll say not exactly, try again. Again, I really simplified the immediate response. Let me correct it to what I think it is now. And if they put in the correct answer and click submit, it'll say correct. Nice job. So again, just the immediate satisfaction for the students is there. The immediate monitoring for the teacher is here as well. I can see what they're doing, what they're working on. And the customization is off the charts. I'm only scratching the surface of what we can do with Desmos. It's incredible, but I've seen some really great utilities on there. I won't put them out myself. I really want to show you more of my work to give you a more like realistic sense of what Desmos can do. But if you Google Desmos activities, there's some really good stuff out there that might pertain to your math or science classes. So that's about it for me presenting on Desmos. I hope I brought to light something that you didn't know beforehand. And yeah, thank you, everybody.